show you one simple thing you can do to make your guitar solos sound dark and sinister. What I want to share with you first is something that's kind of boring, so just hang tight with me here for a little bit. And I don't like to talk about scales, and let me just stop 1 second. When I'm writing a guitar solo, when I'm playing a guitar solo, most of the time I'm just ad-libbing it. I'm just making it up as I go. I never, ever think about scales. I never think about, well, I need to play the correct notes within this scale to fit the rhythm. I don't think about that. My training comes more from hearing and just translating what I'm hearing in my head to the fretboard. Now, on that note, no pun intended. Well, the pun's always intended. I do think it's good. I'm going to contradict myself real quick. I do think it's good to know the scales. What I learned later on is I inadvertently had learned scales without even realizing it. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to play an E minor scale. We're going to start on the A string. This is important, and you'll understand why it's important in a second, okay? Couple of things about the E minor scale, and really just scales in general, major or minor, is we're starting with an E note, E minor scale. We're ending on E, okay? And the way I like to break down a scale is that between notes 2 and 3 and notes 5 and 6, you're not skipping a fret. Those are half steps. Those are really the only things you need to know. And knowing that, well, you can play a scale, a minor scale, from anywhere on your fretboard. Let's do this real quick. I'm going to play something dark. I'm going to play one note that does not fit into the E minor scale. From a theory perspective, that would be a harmonic minor, right? And the note that we played that didn't fit into the normal E minor scale was actually an E flat, or if you want to call it D sharp, but it's a half step away from the note we started on, and of course a half step away from the note that we end on. Because remember, we start with an E, we end with an E, right? And what makes up that minor scale is what? Is not skipping a fret, just going a half step between notes 2 and 3 in the scale and notes 5 and 6. So nowhere in that E minor scale is an E flat, okay? But that's what gives it that really wicked sounding twist. And if you heard the very beginning, the intro, if you go back and listen to the intro, and I apologize, I just kind of like threw the solo out there, so I don't remember exactly what notes I played, but I know I played this part here. Something like that, but you hear that E flat note in there. The same note. Okay, so that's one little tactic that you can use. Just that alone can make your guitar solo sound really dark and sinister. On that note, I know I overuse this pun, it's just I can't help it. I even use it at my live solo acoustic gigs before I take breaks after a set. You know, I'll talk a little bit, I'll like promote the venue, and it's like, on that note, no pun intended, I'm going to take a short break and I'll be back in 10 or 15 minutes. Anyway, back to the lesson. The other thing that I want to share, and this is super important, and we talked about this earlier, you don't want to actually play this scale for a solo. Now, it doesn't mean you can't, but again, I really want you to step out of just playing the scales during a solo. The sole purpose of knowing this scale is knowing where you can land that fits in that key perfectly, so you don't have to think about it. And I've covered this in earlier videos, and of course I talk about this in my Guitar Academy as well, in Lead Guitar Apprentice. That's one of the newer courses that I released in the Academy. So if you're in the Jason Stallworth Guitar Academy, quick plug, definitely go through Lead Guitar Apprentice. I mean, don't stop whatever course you're in now to go through it, but just make that a priority, because that that course is really going to help you. If you're not in my academy, hey, check it out if lessons like this help you, and watch some other YouTube videos, but there is a link in the description of this video here. In any case, the whole point of knowing these notes is just to safely know where you can play that's going to always fit in that key. It just takes the guesswork out of things, right? And real quick, if you don't know this tip already, I know we played the scale starting on the A string. Remember, we start with the E note, we end with the E note. So what does that mean? That means you can pick that scale right back up where you ended. Now, how do we know what to play? Well, remember, we start and end on the same note. In between all of that, we do not skip a fret. We only play a half step between notes 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. Cool. And then you can take that anywhere on the fretboard. We know that the E, right, with the open E string, that's going to start over as an E on the 12th fret. Okay, so all of those notes were just the same pattern, right? Start on the note, end on the same note. Don't skip a fret, just half steps between notes 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. That's it. And again, the purpose for knowing these across the fretboard, and you'll start to memorize these, it becomes really easy. It's like, okay, I know where this is. It just gives you that safe zone to play in. You know you're always going to be in key if the song's in the key of E minor, of course. You're always going to be playing in key if you play those notes. So again, you don't want the solo to sound like you're practicing scales, though. That's the last thing you want, or practicing arpeggios even. That gets dull and boring after a while. You want to add some feeling, and this is where like the techniques come in. We do some bending, stuff like that, right? Add a little vibrato to it, and if we want to darken things up a little bit, well, we hit that E flat note. Okay, so you get the idea, but this just gives you a little bit more to explore as you're writing your own guitar solos, which you know I strongly encourage you to do that. I strongly encourage you, don't just learn somebody else's solo. That's great, riff solos, even mine, but start to expand beyond that, because I believe you have a unique style. You have your own signature style. And I don't care if you're just starting out or you've been playing for 10, 20, 40 years, you have your own style. So part of what I like to do here on YouTube and in my Guitar Academy is I want to bring that out. I want that to be highlighted. Your style, not someone else's style, not the way somebody else plays, not the techniques, how well they can do them, or not their sound. You have your own. Learning all this stuff is a part of developing your own style. But I say that to say this, as we're going through little tips like this, and of course in my full-blown lessons that I have out there, I have several lessons out there, a big part of what I do is I encourage you to develop your own style as you go through my lessons. So learn what I'm sharing with you, but take the concept and run with it, because at the end of the day, the absolute best riff and best lick, best solos, are going to be the ones that you come up with. So I know this is a short lesson. I do hope it helped you, though. Leave me any questions you have, and especially if this helped you in any way, if you want to provide some details in the comments below. Because sometimes you can watch a video like this. It's like reading a book. You might pick up one like super important concept and it changes everything about your playing. It just gives you a total shift. And I've done that with books. One of my favorite books that I read over the years, I'll share this real quick and then we'll end, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, I like all the 7 habits, but there's one specific habit called win-win. Always create a win-win situation. That means if I win, but you don't, and we're doing this together, well, then to me, I really don't win. Why not create a win-win where we both win? which I hope these videos are a win-win for you. But videos like this, you may pick up this one thing, which is the one thing that I shared with you. Just try playing that one note outside of that scale. See where you can fit that in. See what that sounds like. And that can sometimes, again, just change everything about how you approach your writing. So again, I hope this helped you. Drop me any comments. Be sure to check out the links in the description if you want to learn more about the Jason Stallworth Guitar Academy. As always, keep it metal and keep it dark sometimes, and keep playing music.